What is going on, YouTube? My name is Anthony Russo, and welcome to the first ever episode of Russo Rants. I'm Russo. I'm gonna rant. I feel like the name is it's pretty self-explanatory. Um, so this channel I'm deciding to make because I I love football. I love sports, but football is my main one. So I want to make this channel to be able to express opinions and give facts and things of that nature. Hopefully, those of you who are watching will enjoy it. Agree or disagree, it really makes no difference to me. But as long as you're having a pleasant time watching. So obviously the NFL playoffs start tomorrow. The games are the Raiders Texans game in Houston and the Lions Seahawks game in Seattle. Excuse me. So I'm just going to go ahead and break those games down, who I think is going to win, what I think the factors are going to be, and then we're going to get into maybe some NFL draft talk. I'm very big in the NFL draft. I love the NFL draft. I think other than the Super Bowl, it's my favorite football sports related event. Um, let's dive into the Raiders Texans game. Obviously, Derek Carr suffered a leg injury a couple weeks ago. He will not be playing in this game. They are going to turn to rookie quarterback Connor Cook, fourth round pick out of Michigan State. He will be leading the team into Houston against former starter, then benched, now back to starter because of injury, Brock Osweiler. Um, $11 million man. He has been very disappointing this season, I think, to say the least. At least, and I'm sure Houston fans would happily agree with that statement. Well, maybe not happily, but they would agree. Um, so it's a very interesting matchup, and I think because of the, shall we say, lack of talent at the quarterback position in this game, I think defense is going to be very important. The Texans have the number one defense in the NFL. The Raiders, they're not number one, but they're not bad. They're not bad. They have Khalil Mack, who is one of the best players in the game right now. Good linebacking core: Bruce Irvin, Malcolm Smith, Perry Riley. Secondary: David Amerson, Reggie Nelson, Carl Joseph. So there's some talent there. Um, so it's going to be a very interesting game. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I don't I don't see either team getting over 20 points, if you want to be honest. My final score, my result, I think it's going to be the Raiders. I really do. I think Connor Cook, I think they're going to run the football. I think we're going to see a lot of Latavius Murray. I think he's going to run the ball very well, and I just don't see Brock Osweiler being able to make plays. Now you might ask, well, how do I think Connor Cook is going to do? When he stepped in, bear in mind against the Denver defense that is a top 5 defense in this league right now, he actually played quite well. He only threw, I believe he had a touchdown. He had the 30-yard touchdown to Amari Cooper, and he only had one interception, and his completion percentage wasn't that bad. Now, granted, a lot of his throws they weren't big play throws that Derek Carr would be making, but nevertheless, he played quite well considering the situation and considering, he's a rookie quarterback at the moment. Um, and I think that's what we're going to see in this game too. I think we're going to see a lot of short throws. Guys like Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, probably some Seth Roberts and Clive Walford will probably get a good amount of targets as well. I don't see a lot of big 50-yard bombs to Amari Cooper or big post routes to Crabtree or whatever it is, but I think Connor Cook will do what he has to do to win the game. And he's not gonna be the hero. He's not gonna be the sole reason, but he is certainly gonna do what he has to do to get the Raiders the win. And I think the defense will step up. Like I said, Khalil Mack, guys like Bruce Irvin, I think they're gonna step up. They're gonna cause a lot of problems to a Texans offensive line that's not that good. And I think they're going to create pressure. I think Osweiler is going to have 2 picks. I would at least 2, maybe even 3 picks. I think he's going to turn the ball over. And I think it's going to be very, very rough day for the Texans offense. So I'm going to say 17-13 Raiders. Second game, Lions Seahawks. That one, I don't think it's going to be that close, to be honest. The Seattle Seahawks they're built for the playoffs. They run the ball. They play great defense. Russell Wilson doesn't turn the ball over. This is a Seahawks team that's been here before. Basically, everybody on the team has been here before. They've done a great job keeping the core intact. Pete Carroll's done a great job as their head coach. The Lions, it's good to see them back in relevancy again. They're not total garbage anymore. I remember their 0-16 season. That was rough, to say the least. So it's good to see them back, especially after losing Calvin Johnson. It's nice to see that they were still able to put Matthew Stafford had a great season. But I still think Seattle's going to run the ball and they're going to pound it. And I think we're going to see a Russell Wilson, Doug Baldwin show in the first half. I see Doug Baldwin having one of those games. I remember last year, I believe it was in the playoffs, where he had just a phenomenal 150-yard, 2 touchdown, something to that effect. I could see that performance again. Lions secondary is not that good. They have Darius Slay. Outside of him, there's not a lot of talent in that secondary. So I could easily see Doug Baldwin having a big game, and guys like Jermaine Kearse, Jimmy Graham too. I could see him having a big game as well. I think Russell's gonna be solid. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think is reasonable, especially at home. I don't see how Seattle loses. I'm gonna say 27 to 17. I'm gonna say Seahawks win it by double digits. I don't see how the Lions are able to keep up with the Seahawks at home, and I don't see their defense being able to slow down Russell Wilson at all. So, I plan on doing also the other two wildcard games. I'll make a separate video either tomorrow or later today. I'm not sure yet, but I'll one or the other. Um, I'll cover the other two wildcard games. One other thing I wanted to touch on, some breaking news about a couple hours ago. Ray Horton, defensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns, was fired. Um, not it's a bit surprising. I thought the Cleveland Browns would try to keep their staff intact. They just brought on Hugh Jackson last year. So it is a bit surprising that they opted to let him go. Obviously, Cleveland front office had to expect that this was not going to be a good year for either side of the ball. But they opted to go a different direction. Sources are saying Wade Phillips and Greg Williams are on the top of the list for their desired candidates. Wade Phillips obviously has done a fantastic job with the Denver defense. He has been phenomenal. Probably one of the biggest reasons that they're in that they were in the Super Bowl last year, and that they had the defense that they had, the record-setting numbers that they had. Wade Phillips. So I'm sorry if I'm looking at my phone. I'm trying not to. I have stuff happening. I'm sorry. Um, the other thing was Greg Williams. Greg Williams also has done a good job. He is the coach. Oh, where is he? I have to Google it. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This is so unprofessional. Where is Greg Williams now? I know he was in St. Louis back when they were St. Louis. Oh my God. Oh, he's with the Rams. Yeah, okay. I didn't know if he was still there or not. Yeah, he's the defensive coordinator of the Rams. Which the Rams, listen, their offense is garbage. I don't think there's a whole lot of debate about that. The offensive line is atrocious. Gurley's numbers reflect that. Offensive line is atrocious. Wide receiving core, not that great. Kenny Britt's all right. Outside of him, Tavon Austin's a good running back that happens to play wide receiver. But outside of that, there's not there's not a lot of not a lot to like about the Rams offense. Todd Gurley's good, but when you have four 300-pound men running at you with nobody really helping you out, it's going to be tough to get yards. And Jared Goff, he's down the road. Maybe he'll become what the Rams wanted out of him when they traded up to get the first pick, but uh, as of now, he's not there yet, and no one really expected him to be. Um, but we'll see what happens with the Rams. But my point was their defense was actually they played well. Granted, it may not have shown in their 12 losses. No, 11 losses. They were 5-11, I believe. It may not have shown simply for the fact that the offense couldn't put up points. But the Rams defense didn't have a bad season. And I think a lot of that could be given to Greg Williams as well. I could see why he's such a desired candidate as well. It'll be interesting to see if they go back to the 4-3 defense. The Browns run the 3-4 as of now. Danny Shelton is their nose tackle, and I don't remember their defensive ends at the moment, but I know they run the 3-4. So it'll be interesting to see if they convert back to the 4-3. I know Greg Williams, Rams I believe the Rams run the 4-3 at the moment, and I know that the Broncos run the 3-4. So if Wade Phillips stepped in, they'd probably stick with the 3-4. But Greg Williams is known for the 4-3, so that'll be interesting to see if they convert back to the 4-3. I know they ran it under Mike Pettin. No, they didn't. They ran the 3. What am I doing? I'm tired. I'm sorry. It'll be interesting to see if they go to the 4-3. All right, so now I wanted to dive into the NFL Draft, and here's what I'm gonna do. Each time I make a video, I wanna highlight a prospect that I think people should be paying attention to. I'm gonna pick a prospect that I think that will have a good chance of making a big impact at the next level. And the one that I chose, I don't know. I don't know how people are going to feel about what I'm going to say, because this person, he's a bit controversial in the sense that people have mixed opinions of him. Not so much any type of off the field related issues, but on the field, there's questions about what he'll become in the NFL. And if you don't know, I'm speaking of Jabrill Peppers. He is the safety slash linebacker slash quarterback slash running back slash wide receiver slash kick returner of the Michigan Wolverines. And seriously, he has played all of those positions. That's not me exaggerating. You can look it up. He played every position I just listed at some point or another. Let me start by saying he is the most athletic prospect in this draft. Maybe Myles Garrett, give him a run for his money. I would say Jabrill, pure athleticism, Jabrill, hands down, is the winner. He has tremendous speed, and on defense, when he's playing defense, tremendous closing speed to get to the football, whether that's in the running back's hands or the quarterback's hands. He has a tremendous closing speed and an ability to finish plays, and he does a great job at doing that. I also appreciate, while he's not the most physically imposing player. I believe he's only measured at like 6 foot 205 or 6 foot 210, something like that. He's not that big, relatively, but he's tough. He will not back down either to make a tackle, or to try to stay in bounds when he's returning kicks. He does a good. He's tough. He doesn't always necessarily make the tackle, but he tries, and I think that should be appreciated. So probably the big question is, what is he going to be in the NFL? I believe, and I would compare him to Deion Buchanan. He's the safety slash linebacker for the Arizona Cardinals at the moment. I think that comparison makes a lot of sense. They moved him when they drafted him. He was safety out of Washington State, I want to say. That sounds right. He was a safety coming out of Washington State, and he moved to linebacker. Um, they played him in nickel packages as a linebacker, and it was a perfect fit. Again, it was kind of the same thing with Peppers. He was a great tackler, and he had the speed and athleticism to compete with running backs and tight ends. But he didn't have the cover skills, and that's Jabrill Peppers' problem also. And that's actually why he hasn't officially declared for the draft. And if I were advising him, I would tell him to stay in school, because I think there are teams out there, and the saying goes, it only takes one team to fall in love with you, and you're set. But I think his stock is not where it was about 1 or 2 months ago. I think teams are starting to question if his lack of cover skills is worth the athleticism and the toughness that he brings and the versatility that he brings. Um, and I think also another problem for Peppers is secondary is absolutely loaded. Safeties in particular, Jamal Adams and Malik Hooker are basically guaranteed top 10 picks in my opinion. If not, I mean, top 20 at least. I think they both rightfully will go top 10. Um, so that's another problem that Peppers has is he's he doesn't match up to the quality of Adams and Hooker in terms of their cover skills and their range and their ability to make plays. So that's another problem for Peppers. Do I think he would fall out of the first round? I don't think so. I think he'll be at the end. I think there's a team that either A will move back into the first round, a team like a San Francisco, um, or a Chicago, or the Jets. I think one of those teams could find their way back into the end of round one and make a play for him, or a team that is picking in that area. Packers come to mind. Steelers, Cowboys. I think any one of those teams would take a chance on him. Again, just because of the athleticism and the versatility that he brings, and that is certainly that athleticism will make him an NFL contributor. Now, to what extent, that remains to be seen. I personally think if you give him a Dion Buchanan role, and I think that's part of the problem, is he has to go to the right team. But if he goes to the right team, I think he's an NFL starter. I think he is a 3 down contributor, 4 down contributor. He'll be returning kicks. Um, he can do wildcat type of trick plays, and he'll play wide receiver if there's a terrible load of injuries. He'll find ways to contribute. He's that athletic that I would be shocked if in 5 years he's not, still around, still contributing somehow. He's just one of those physically gifted players. Um, all right. Well, that will conclude the first. What we got? About 19 minutes. A little over 19 minutes. I think that's good for the first episode. If you took the time out to watch this, thank you. Much appreciated. Like I said, my goal is to put up another episode either later today or tomorrow, discussing Sunday's wildcard games, and maybe I'll do the results of Saturday's games. Maybe that's how I'll do it. That's a good idea. I'm glad I thought of that. So, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again. Take care.